This is our 50th Pentatonix video, How Time Flies. I have been saving this one for a milestone. It's by far my most requested Pentatonix song, and it's also their most popular. Currently has over 750 million views on YouTube. Ridiculous. Hallelujah is a very well-known song, originally by Leonard Cohen. I actually didn't know his original version. I'd never heard it until recently when I did a video on it. Quite different to how I expected it might have been, and I imagine Pentatonix's version in turn could be quite different to that. From the many comments I've received to do this one, I know everyone loves it, and it was also many people's first time ever hearing Pentatonix, their introduction. So let's get straight into it. Nearly 7 million likes as well. Whoa.
I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Avi.
Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to the kitchen chair, she broke your throat and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
There comes the beat now. Really nice location for the video as well, isn't it? We're nearly 2 minutes in. 2 minutes, wow. I hope my video doesn't get deleted for copyright. I normally don't wait that long before doing our first pause. Well, I guess that says something about the arrangement. Maybe really nice, some lovely things in there. So let's go back through. If you don't want to hear my thoughts or analysis, go to the timestamp. Now, if you've seen my Pentatonix videos before, you'll know that these days, more recently, we sometimes react to other versions, maybe a live performance of the same song. And we do that after doing the main video on the original video or the studio version. This song, Hallelujah, being their most popular, is of course no exception.
Sing true and high.
So if you want to see the live performance as well, head on over to the link down below in the pinned comment. You'll also get access to all the other Pentatonix additional performances and things that we've seen that aren't on YouTube. But that's enough about live performances. Let's get back to this one. Starts off with just Scott. Very nice, very poignant, as a cappella as you can literally get.
David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you?
There, the first supporting harmony, chordal sound rather than any open vowel sounds. We only see Mitch and Kirsty in the video, but Kevin is in there as well. And, well, his beat comes in just where we paused nearly 2 minutes in, which means we have Kevin and his... I've said before, I love how well his voice blends with them. I received many comments saying that people find it really difficult to pick out Kevin especially. Maybe in a few minutes I'll transcribe some of this and show some sheet music to help with that a bit. But it's a really nice introduction, and I think just goes to show how well their blend is. Usually it's Scott, Mitch and Kirsty who are singing similar homophonic parts with the bass at the bottom and the beatbox on the outside. I didn't want to say top. Outside also is probably even worse a word. But yeah, now Mitch, Kirsty and Kevin. Let's just take another listen. This is Kevin's starting note. And Mitch and Kirsty.
The Lord, but you don't really
Mitch with the real flowy part crescendoing into his line. And this flow going up and then coming down perfectly leads into.
Well, it goes like this.
Here comes Avi.
The fourth, the fifth, the minor fall.
His bass part rising up in line with everything else. Typically, we might expect it to drop down.
Barefoot king composing hallelujah.
It still hasn't dropped down, and there was a really nice line at the top there from Kirsty. Could be Mitch, I think Kirsty. Very subtle though.
Composing hallelujah.
It actually went down at the end. Anyway, then Avi does drop down. Dum, dum, dum. Outlining the key here, which just for context is a tiny bit lower than the original. The key of their performance is in B flat, whereas the original song is in C. Avi outlines here, which is the relative minor of the key they're singing in here. And then he drops down and I have been warned or told to be conscious of the fact that this is many Pentaholics' introduction to Pentatonix, their first exposure of these wonderful singers singing together a cappella. As I said, this is my 50th video on them, and I don't think you'll ever quite have the shock factor as when you first hear a group or see something, but I will try my best to really appreciate what it must have been like for most people. I know if I had heard this.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And of course, Scott does little mini riffs of his. So when I first heard this, my immediate thoughts were, we still don't have a beat. The arrangement is now not chordal. And by that, I mean it's not loads of sustained notes in the supporting parts underneath the melody. Instead, now we have some energy coming in the form of the rhythms. Dum, 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 ch. Mitch's part is the real important part here. Let's have a listen. It's Mitch who is effectively acting as the replacement for percussion. Not on his own though. He is working with the other parts. You have Kirsty and Kevin, who are kind of like a little couple. Mitch doing the movement and Avi as well, leading into Mitch's movement each time. Let's have a listen, and then I will probably go away and transcribe the music after I finish recording and whack it in here so we can see a bit easier. And I was about to cue Sir Hairless from the future to show you the transcription, but it would of course be criminal not to mention the bass part at this moment. Avi takes over the melody, so who's singing the bass? Now, if this was one of my first ever Pentatonix reactions, I would 100% have said it sounds too much like Avi to be Scott. And it is a studio version. Studio versions should be the best they can be. If you have a natural bass, someone with a tone as rich as Avi's, why not use him? You can multi-track, it's fine, as long as you don't claim it's live, right? Well, now I'm a bit into my Pentatonix journey. I have seen Scott's bass a number of times, or bass Scott as I call him, such as in The Sound of Silence or You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Really, really impressive.
You drive a crooked horse.
Scott's bass is phenomenal.
Mr. Grinch.
I'm just going to go back a bit though, because I was struggling to hear Scott as clearly. Can I hear him at all? Sorry, I'm an idiot. I was too engrossed in the live performance. Scott's doing the bass part. Stupid, Sir Hairless. Stupid. And the very first video I did on Pentatonix, which was their Video Killed the Radio Star on the sing-off, Scott goes insanely high. I'm not even going to apologise for that voice crack. So, sorry. Here, in the Radio Star. So does that, who's singing the other part? Well, him, the lead tenor guy, he's singing the... He's going that high? Really? So I'm not going to give my 2 cents on whether I think this is actually Scott singing or if it's Avi who they have multi-tracked here because it will produce the best sound. But I don't think it matters. And from what I've heard of Scott's bass, honestly, sometimes it can just be basically indistinguishable. We know he can do it and it's just so impressive. So let's just have a listen.
Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the...
it just sounds like there has been no change in personnel of that bass part. So seamless, so smooth. Now let's get into the sheet music for this point, because I think it's worth noting and it is quite interesting. And don't worry, you don't have to read music, it's more just a visual guide. So here's just a little excerpt to show you what we're looking at. I've labeled each voice. We have the bass part, dum da da dum, which switches over to Scott just up here. Then we have Avi's melody. Kirsty and Kevin, I mentioned they were like a couple earlier. Well, this is why. This is just their parts. And that's all it does on repeat. And here's Mitch's part with the melody. Interestingly, Mitch's part is actually in a similar range to Avi's melody all the way down here. Avi's melody is in between the first two notes of Mitch's repeating pattern. And that's it really. So let's play the whole excerpt.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. She tied you to the kitchen chair. She broke your throat and she cut your hair.
Oh, the bass. If you're not listening with headphones, get them on, because this bass is shaking the body. And this is one of the rare moments where it won't be Avi singing the bass. He has the melody here. He's moving up. I am a huge Avi fan. I've done some videos on his solo works. I've met him in person. Lovely guy as well to top it all off. Such a rich timbre, such a nice tone.
And from your lips she drew the hallelujah.
No vibrato on the top note there, saving it all for the end of the phrase as he comes back down.
Hallelujah.
Classic suspension there, which is called a 4/3 suspension because the chord we've just landed on is this. And you'll notice that note here is note number 3. 1, 2, 3. So it moves from the 4th note. We can see it's suspended, causing tension, and then the suspension resolves down. 4 to 3, 4/3 suspension. And we're about to go into the next verse. We've had Scott do a solo, we've had Avi do a solo, Kevin comes in on the percussion, so it will either be Mitch or Kirsty next. And there's no way of knowing. We haven't gone from bottom to top in terms of their natural ranges, which would be Avi, then Scott, then Mitch, then Kirsty. We've gone Scott, then Avi. So really could be either one of them next. Or could be Scott again, or Avi again, or none of them. I have no idea. Let's carry on and find out. Solo Mitch, a cappella, high up in that beautiful range, perfect for him, right up there. Oh, no, that's gonna have to wait just for a moment. Just a few things from what we've heard of Kirsty's verse there. The sound much fuller with the percussion, even though we've lost a voice in Kevin. But that's the art of arranging. 5 parts, singing chordal can often sound not as full or energized as 4 parts, but with a beat. And of course, it depends what the parts are doing, if they're syncopated with each other, how quick their rhythms are. Quite a contrast to the opening lovely chordal section that we got. Such a cool video, really cool. I don't think this says in the description where it was filmed. If anyone knows where it was filmed, please let me know.
Oh, baby, I've been here before.
Especially Kevin's stamping with a little bit of the dust that it brings up.
I've seen this room and I've walked this floor.
You know what? I just listened to the start of Kirsty's verse because I was going to follow up on my point just now about how things seem a bit more energized.
I've seen this room and I've walked this floor.
But if we take the other parts, Avi, Scott, Mitch, they are actually chordal, much more similar to the beginning than I thought, which goes to show how powerful first impressions of hearing something can be. And of course, we won't always remember them correctly.
I used to live alone before I knew you. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch.
Here, though, this moment of homophony now where the other parts start singing the words as well, that definitely helps, I think, with the interpreted increase in energy.
And love is not a victory march. It's a call.
Really interesting parts there as well. Avi's line, ooh, victory march. I think it was that.
Love is not a victory march. It's a call.
Working in contrary motion as he's rising up to Mitch, for example. All the while Kirsty moving up there, really belting this.
It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah.
Tiny little squeak on the of hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And that's just a nice way of introducing variety. If you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, please consider supporting me. Patreon has a bunch of exclusive benefits, behind the scenes videos, additional reaction content, Q&A videos, and more. For a one-time donation, you can donate me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee link, or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. And a huge thank you to these lovely people on the screen now. The most important word of the song, the title of the song, Hallelujah. Let's not do what we've done before. Let's have a little descending run into it. It's almost quite playful in a way. And these playful repetitions we're hearing in the other parts. It's not hallelujah, hallelujah. It's hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You know, all throughout the parts, constantly flowing, constantly moving. What a
Was
voice.
how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. And it's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a chord and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And of course, Avi finishing right down there. Speaking of Avi there with his bass, towards the end, towards the more climactic moment where things got really loud, really powerful, Avi has a bit more freedom with his part. Let's listen to this bit where he goes, Hallelujah. But we still have the initial bass part down at the bottom, which shows that this is not strictly 5-part. They do have other layers in there, but that's necessary if they really want to add more parts in there to get the fullest and thickest textural sound, thickest texture you can get really out of the 5 people there. You need more than 5 voices. If you're struggling to hear the additional bass part, or if you don't believe me, I will probably get some comments saying, no, this is strictly 5 part. Well, this is probably the most obvious additional bass part because the note doesn't move. It's just underneath everything, providing this harmonic rock, this foundation at the bottom, there. Avi's phrase starts on that note, do, do, do. And when he sings that first note, do, you can really hear the overtones created with the other bass part in there that isn't moving.
Maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love.
Who doesn't love Mitch's voice? You know what I mean? So cool, so unique, so nice. And it's the little decisions as well. The end of that phrase, instead of finishing with the classic do 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 do, he shortens the penultimate note, which means the last note is longer, there's more emphasis on it. What does he do? That lovely slow vibrato of his coming through, so we notice it more, and I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about that.
Somebody who outdrew you.
Also provides a bit of syncopation, a bit of rhythmic energy injected in there. And the harmonies now open up. I think Scott immediately comes in with a little suspension again.
And it's not a cry.
That's the suspended note because the chord is, and he is going. So just these added dissonances in there to really enrich the harmony. And we do see many more cases of this as the song progresses towards the end.
It's a chord and it's a broken hallelujah.
That's up here, one tone above here, which is what I call the wow operatic tenor moment. You know, this is crazy high, not for Mitch, obviously, for most men, yes. And then I love how he ends the phrase in that light, airy voice. And then just before we finish that Scott moment, such a climactic moment, and it's strange to think that Scott is singing higher than Mitch here. I was just having a little listen to pinpoint exactly where each part is. Kirsty's part is obvious, Scott's main part is obvious, Avi's bass part is obvious. Mitch's part, or the 4th voice, is here. I'm demonstrating that quite quietly because I have to be a bit quiet when I record, but there's real power to the sound, a real chesty sound, and boy oh boy, it sounds a lot like Scott. Listen out for that part. Higher Scott here goes on further than the other part. It comes off a bit before, once more. Is the note. So that could be Mitch belting lower down, which is not something I've heard too much. And if that's the case, that's a tone of his that I'm really not familiar with. And that is so different to how he's just been singing with his gorgeous solo moment. Or the alternative is they have layered Scott here. Again, as we've seen they've done with Avi, just so we have more voices, more parts present. Lovely choice to end like this. There's the suspension from Mitch. But then he continues. Let's listen again and we can really see how the suspensions just add this temporary tension. I wonder if they knew at the time that this would be well on its way to 1 billion views. Or if you said to them when they released this was nearly 10 years ago, 2016, hey guys, you know that in 2015 this will have 767 million views. Yeah, that's nuts, isn't it? I mean, you know I love Pentatonix. I think they're great. It's been so interesting seeing them progress from the sing-off days, from the Avi era into the Matt era, seeing what they are like now. Yes, I've done 50 videos on them, but I'd still consider myself a bit of a Pentatonix noob because I'm told there are hundreds and hundreds of performances out there. So comment down below your other favorite Pentatonix performances so I know what to do in the future. Let's leave that one there. Please give the video a like to show YouTube that you enjoy my content, you'd like to see more. Subscribe if you haven't, and if you'd like to watch the live performance with me, head on over to the link in the pinned description. That will take you to the full video of Patreon, and if not, well, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.